And every time she saw me, she'd be like, where's that like $15,000 original John Lennon t-shirt that you bought?
Miley Cyrus just dropped a bombshell that has everyone talking, and honestly, it's way more shocking than anything we saw during her Wild Bangers era. We're talking about a secret so big that it involved elaborate lies, fake receipts, and a $15,000 vintage t-shirt that never actually existed. But here's what makes this story even crazier. It all started with one of the most devastating periods of her life, and the lengths she went to just to cope will absolutely blow your mind. Just weeks ago, Miley sat down for the Every Single Album podcast and made an admission that shocked everyone. What? When talking about her 2015 experimental album, Miley Cyrus and Her Petz, she revealed something that nobody saw coming.
What the fuck? The drugs were the biggest cost.
The drugs were the biggest cost,
yeah.
Which to hide those from my accountant, we called them vintage clothes.
Let that sink in. We're not talking about a few $100s here and there. Miley was spending thousands, and I mean thousands, on drugs, and she had to create an entire fake paper trail to hide it. She continued.
And so she would get these
That
checks
happens on touring all the time.
of thousands of dollars worth of vintage clothes.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets absolutely insane.
What?
Her accountant wasn't stupid. She started asking questions, Miley recalled.
And every time she saw me, she'd be like, where's that like $15,000 original John Lennon t-shirt that you bought?
$15,000 for a t-shirt. That didn't exist. And Miley's response? Pure deception.
It's like, oh, it's upstairs. Would you like some?
Yeah.
We just really want to protect it. It's really delicate, the fabric. Got to take care
So
of
I
it.
bought a lot of vintage clothes that year.
It's amazing.
To understand how Miley ended up hiding drug purchases in 2015, we need to go back to 2013, a year that absolutely destroyed her world. Just recently, on Monica Lewinsky's Reclaiming podcast, Miley opened up about this period in a way that'll break your heart. She said,
My 2013 is your 1998 because that was the time where I just hit so hard. And I was so embarrassed.
For context, Monica was referring to the Clinton scandal that defined her life. For Miley, 2013 was her bangers era. The twerking, the controversial performances, the complete image transformation that scandalized America. But here's what nobody realized at the time. The backlash wasn't just affecting Miley, it was destroying her entire family. She revealed,
And there was even a time where my brother and sister didn't want to go to school because of how humiliated they were to be related to me.
Picture that for a second. Your younger siblings, who had nothing to do with your career choices, being too embarrassed to face their classmates because of your public image. The guilt from that alone would crush most people. The devastation didn't stop there.
No!
Miley continued.
But it was really hard for me in 2013, and I lost everything during that time in my personal life because of the choices I was making professionally.
Everything. Her relationships, her family dynamics, her sense of self, all of it crumbled. Even her engagement to Liam Hemsworth couldn't survive. She explained,
That didn't work out because I was sharing a part of myself that men wanted to be saved for them only.
the man she thought she'd marry couldn't handle her public sexuality. The family she loved was humiliated, the world was calling her a disaster, and she admitted,
Yeah, so having that and going home and seeing my grandparents were just mortifying, or
imagine being 20 years old, sitting at Thanksgiving dinner, knowing that your choices had brought shame to the people you love most. Miley later reflected,
I had a lot of guilt about how hard it would have been to be my sibling or my parent and how embarrassing and, all those things. So
by the end of 2013, Miley Cyrus wasn't just a controversial pop star. She was a broken young woman who had lost almost everything that mattered to her. So what happens when you're 22? You've lost your family's respect, your relationship has ended, and the whole world thinks you're a joke? For Miley, the answer was to dive headfirst into making the most experimental, drug-fueled album of her career. Miley Cyrus and Her Petz wasn't just an album, it was Miley's attempt to numb the pain of 2013. She's been completely honest about how drugs were, in her words, super important to the creative process.
I couldn't fit this award in my bag, but I did find this. So, thank you guys very much. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
But But what nobody knew until now was just how much money she was burning through to keep herself medicated. We're talking about thousands of dollars regularly. Remember, she said her accountant would get checks of thousands of dollars worth of vintage clothes. That's multiple thousands, multiple times. This wasn't recreational use. This was a young woman trying to drug away the devastation of losing everything she cared about. The timing makes perfect sense now. 2013 broke her. 2014 was recovery from the fallout. And 2015, that was when she decided to create art while completely altered, spending whatever it took to stay numb enough to function. But even in her altered state, she knew she couldn't let the people around her know how deep she was going. That's where the fake vintage clothes scheme came in. By 2019, she was ready to get sober, but like so many people in recovery, the path wasn't straight. She's been completely honest about her relapses, particularly during the pandemic. In 2020, she admitted to Zane Lowe.
Well, I, like a lot of people, being completely honest during the pandemic, fell off and felt really a lot of, and I would never sit here and go, I've been sober, and I didn't, and I fell off. And I realized that I now am back on sobriety, 2 weeks sober.
What's fascinating is how she approached her relapses. She developed a mantra: don't get furious, get curious. Instead of hating herself for falling back into old patterns, she tried to understand what triggered her. One of those triggers, the fear of joining the 27 Club. Miley admitted that turning 27 made her hyper-aware of how many icons died at that age. Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix. She said,
27 to me was a year that I really had to protect myself. That actually kind of really made me want to get sober, was because we've lost so many icons at 27. It's a very pivotal time. You kind of go into that next chapter, or this is it for you.
The woman who had spent thousands hiding drug purchases was finally ready to admit she needed to protect herself from becoming another tragic statistic. But here's where Miley's story gets truly inspiring. Today, she talks about sobriety in a way that shows just how far she's come. She told Zane Lowe,
the sobriety is that's like my God. I need it. I live for it. I mean, it's changed my entire life.
This isn't someone who's white-knuckling through recovery. This is someone who has found genuine healing. And the proof? Her biggest hit came directly from processing all this pain. She explained,
it all led me to, writing Flowers, which then was some, sort of just key right into the lock of all healing.
Think about that journey. The family shame of 2013 led to the drug-fueled deception of 2015, which led to years of struggle with sobriety, which ultimately led to Flowers, a song about self-love and independence that became her biggest hit ever and won her Grammy Awards. The woman who once had to lie about $15,000 t-shirts to hide her drug habit created a song about loving herself that dominated the charts worldwide. The transformation is nothing short of remarkable. But Miley's evolution isn't stopping with Flowers. Her new album, Something Beautiful, just dropped, and here's what's really wild. She's already calling it just the appetizer for what's coming next.
Oh my God.
More fascinating is what she told the New York Times about her relationship with mainstream success. I think it's winding down. My attachment to mainstream success, I think it's potentially the last time I'll do it exactly this way. This is someone who has finally found the freedom that eluded her during those dark years. She's no longer chasing validation through controversy like in 2013. She's no longer numbing pain with substances like in 2015. She's creating from a place of genuine artistic freedom, without needing drugs or commercial pressure to drive her. So there you have it. From a broken 20-year-old whose family was humiliated by her choices, to a 22-year-old spending thousands on drugs and lying to everyone around her, to a 32-year-old who calls sobriety her God and creates chart-topping hits about self-love. The $15,000 vintage t-shirt that never existed tells us everything about where Miley was. Desperate, isolated, and medicating pain that felt unbearable. But Flowers tells us everything about where she is now, healed, honest, and creating art that actually helps people instead of just helping her cope. So, what do you think? Did learning about the family devastation that led to those drug-fueled years change how you see Miley's journey? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this breakdown helped you understand the real story behind the headlines, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into celebrity stories. Click that notification bell so you never miss our latest videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.